Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Normulator, and this is Humankind. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate it. And I do believe you guys are going to appreciate being here as well, because boy oh boy, do I have some hot tips and tricks tutorial action coming at you today. So I've been getting asked a lot the past couple of weeks about getting some Humankind tutorials up on YouTube. The reason it has taken this long is I wanted to have plenty of experience in the game myself in order to make sure I was only bringing you guys the best strats possible. These aren't 5 quick tips I pulled off the top of my head after a few hours of gameplay. I've got close to 200 hours of gameplay under my belt, and I've got plenty of Humankind difficulty victories to my credit. And I'm confident that these tips are not only going to improve your Humankind skills, but also help you enjoy the game a lot more. Now, before we get started, I do have to do my shameless plug here and ask you guys to take the time to like the video if you enjoyed it and make that YouTube algorithm doubly happy by dropping a quick comment down below. Heck, just write shameless plug as your comment if you've got no other ideas, or if you do have some ideas on what kind of future Humankind content you'd like to see, you can drop that in there as well. Finally, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. I've got lots of ideas for future Humankind content, and you're not going to want to miss out on any of it. Okay, it's time for tip number 1. Roll the tape. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is settling your outposts and founding your cities. And much like in Civilization games and other 4X games, where you choose to put your cities can have a big impact on how your game is going to go. And in fact, I go so far as to say that with the introduction of the Neolithic era, Humankind has the most dynamic set of factors to consider when making these choices, because you have so much more information when it comes time to decide. So when you consider a Civilization game where you're going to settle your first city on turn 1 or 2, you really barely see anything. But here we are, in this case 12 turns into the game, sometimes you're 6 or 7 or 8 turns in or whatever. We have so much information on what to do, right? So we can make so many more decisions and have so many more options. So let's talk a little bit about some of the factors that go into deciding which outpost to build and where to put the cities. So, first of all, we have found, of course, as you can see here, our neighbor. And whenever you find your neighbor, it's always a good idea to try and put some outposts in and around them to kind of corner them, if you will, or hone in on where they are and make sure they can't expand too much, because you want the land for yourself, obviously, and not for them. Now, in a lot of cases, you know, in this particular run, we ended up getting a lot of food early, and we had a lot of guys exploring, and I just kept exploring more and more. Next thing you know, I had like a dozen of these hunting parties running around, and I actually could have settled I could have evolved to a culture around turn 6 or 7, but I decided I wanted to learn a little bit more about where I was, and as it turns out, we found these guys, and we basically know pretty much the entire continent. But I want to talk to you guys a little bit about decisions. Now, if, for instance, back here in this area here, there was a ton of really good resources and really good cities, which there kind of isn't, but if there was, then I would certainly not have a problem with your first city going wherever the best location is, back closer to where you started. And then with perhaps your second and third cities, you start putting outposts around them and using those outposts to create your cities that will kind of hem them into the corner. In this particular case, however, we are in a position where we can set up some really nice outposts and create the potential for a lot of good cities right up in their kitchen, if you will. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. So now that we've made the decision, we have, of course, really good tiles to work. We have some resources, not only in the immediate vicinity, but in some of the surrounding areas as well. We're going to choose to make this our opening city in this area. Now, where to put it is a really good question. This region, actually has 2 really good spots. You could put it on this river, or you could put it on this river, and do very, very well for yourself indeed. There's a 10 and an 11 here. There's some other choices that are really good and a lot of river tiles to work with. Or they also suggest a 10-15 here. The reason why, in this particular instance, I'm actually going to choose this is because I'm making the decision right out of the gate that I like this little trio of areas together to make my initial city, or my capital, if you will. Okay. So because I know this, I can put multiple cities kind of close together and potentially use districts together in the cities to create extra adjacencies and create some more positive things for us. So in this case, it turns out that this decision is pretty easy. The 10-15 is fantastic. There's no better choice. That's where we're going to settle down, and in 2 turns, that bad boy will be ready. Now, we're going to end the turn here, and we're going to come over here, and we're going to pick this bad boy up. Because what that's going to do is that's going to give us 80 influence. And with 80 influence, we now have enough to settle a couple more cities, and that's what I want to talk to you about next. So, again, river systems, really good tiles. We're going to settle these. So, here we go. We're going to make a choice. Now, as you take a look around here, there's a 616 here is pretty good, but then you go, oh wow, 4 and 20. 20 production is fantastic. Why would I not build that? Other good options, like I said, 6 and 14, 4 and 18, all kinds of really good options in here. But I'm going to make the argument for not settling the 420. Not just because this has got a little bit better balance. I would say even if this had, for instance, 6 food as well, or even more, 7 or 8 food, compared to the 616 here, I would still settle on this 616. And the reasons for that are actually twofold. First of all, you're bringing in more river tiles. In this location, you're only going to be accessing 2 river tiles immediately in the city, whereas here, you're going to be accessing 4. And of course, if you're familiar with the game, you're going to know that there are technologies or infrastructure that you can build in your cities later that allow you to improve both the food and production along rivers. And so all these tiles are going to get really big buffs. Additionally, you're also bringing in some more woodlands and forest tiles compared to if you're settled back here with these 3 tiles here. So in this case, if you settle here, you're actually going to be on not on the forest yourself, but also 5 of the 6 surrounding tiles are also going to be forests, which can be greatly improved also. So I'm going to say the argument is to make the city right here. Also, when you think about it, these tiles here, generally speaking, you don't always want to put districts on the rivers because the tiles get so strong with yields. But on these 2 tiles back here, you can actually put a couple of makers' quarters and pick up all this production back here anyway. So you're going to have, if you were to put 2 of them right here, bang, 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 all these tiles immediately become yours. So you've gotten the benefit of the river and the extra food and all the potential there, but also the benefit with a couple of makers' quarters of all the production that you had as an option as well. Now, let's talk about our second city. And this one is actually even more interesting because of the dynamic of considering which cities are going to be, which outposts are going to become part of which cities. So in this case here, when you click on your option for settling a city, immediately it gives you a couple of options, a 913 or a 12-9, both really good options. And immediately you might be thinking, let's just build it. It's good. I know those are good numbers and not really think about it much. But I'm going to make the argument for this tile right here. And you're probably thinking, why would I sell a 9-6 when I got access to a 9-13? Well, again, the rivers have a factor. You're going to be having 4 surrounding tiles with rivers instead of just the 3, including the one you're on. But also, when you have to consider this tile, it says 916, but once this particular region becomes part of your initial city, you're actually going to get credit for these 2 tiles, which you currently are not. So this is actually a 916 plus 2 for 11. I say 916. 96. It's actually an 1110, which is getting much closer to these numbers over here, actually. And you're bringing in, like I said earlier, more of the good woodlands forest tiles in addition to an extra river tile, as opposed to adding in tiles back here, which are not nearly as strong when it comes to improving them with infrastructure. So it's a little bit slower to build. It's 5 turns instead of 2, obviously, but you're not worried about how fast the outpost itself will build as much as you are about what this outpost and this particular addition to your capital is going to give you. And I think this is an important thing to think about. I think that's the better spot to go. So there you go. That would be our initial city, and of course you're going to want to continue to put outposts down in this region down here and hone them in like that. And this would be an amazing game because you're just going to have this whole area to yourself, which is pretty nice. You can just make, 5 or 6 cities here, and Bob is your uncle. But there you go. City number 1 in our expand. Okay, tip number 2 for today has to do with influence management, and more specifically, how to earn influence more quickly early in the game, and how to spend that influence more efficiently. So let's start with how to earn it more quickly. First thing to take a look at, and I'm sure many of you have played this game even a little bit, have already known this, but if you are new to the game, you must know about the Pottery Workshop, because it is something you need to get built in your early cities extremely fast. As you can see there, +4 influence on your main plaza. We already have this built. This is under the completed section. I've actually already built it. Now we're working on the granary. But for right out of the gate, the first thing you need to do is get this thing built as fast as possible. As you can see, we're earning currently 12 influence a turn, and this is giving us 4. So a third of our influence comes from getting this done. Additionally, when you move on to your second and third city, by then you should have enough gold built up. It is definitely a wise investment to save up the gold, so when you do found your second and third cities, just go ahead and buy this thing. It's worth it. Saves you 3 or 4 turns of production. Just buy it and start earning that extra 4 influence every turn. So if it was going to take you 4 turns to build it, you've already out of the gate earned 16 extra influence by just going ahead and buying it. It's a really good way to accelerate your early game, so be sure to do that. The second thing I want to talk to you guys about when it comes to earning influence faster, it has to do with the civics. And very early on, it actually popped up, I think, turn 16 or turn 17, maybe last turn for me, is 2 very important civics to get going early in the game. The first one is Founding Myths, which gives you +5 influence on your main plaza, which is very, very good. So it's going to cost us 20 influence to enact it if you do it right out of the gate super early. And so within 4 turns, it will immediately have played for itself. And then bam, every single turn, 5 more influence for free right on top. So we're going to go ahead and hit that. And as you can see, our influence per turn has already jumped up from 12 to 17. Now, let's jump back in and take a look at legitimacy. This is also another really handy one, because this is actually more around how to spend efficiently to in order to how to earn it by spending efficiently. That's the words I was looking for. So we're going to spend 25 on this one because it's the second one we've enacted. And what it's going to do is it's going to decrease the cost of creating outposts by 50%. That is fantastic. So basically, instead of paying, say, 40, we're going to pay 20. Instead of paying 80, 40, you get the drill. So you're going to save so much and be so much more efficient by spending this 25 right here influence to get this going, just like that. Now the other thing you're going to want to do, and this is just a little bit more down the line, is you're going to want to, once you've basically all the land that you've quartered off, once you've placed all the outposts down, you're going to want to spend influence to cancel it. Now later on down the road, it's going to cost more than 35 to cancel it, but I promise you it's worth it. Once you've done the outpost, cancel it and act the other side. It's going to give you minus 20% on attached outpost costs. And that's going to allow you in, say, cities 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way down the line. It's going to be so much cheaper because it gets really expensive, like sometimes thousands, to attach outposts to your cities later on down the road. So saving 20% is another way to make a really good, efficient use of your influence. This next part of our tips on influence management has to do with how to more efficiently spend your influence. And more specifically, how to spend your influence more efficiently on creating outposts. So we're going to come down here and take a look at the cost of creating an outpost as we get further away from our city, way up here in the top right. So if you click on this right here, you're going to see it costs 80 influence, as an example, to put one right here. Okay, so cities here, this costs 80 influence. Over here, same thing. If you hover over this, 80 influence. Down here, again, 80 influence. And all the way down here in this bottom one, if you hover over this, 130 influence. So you're not going to, that's really expensive. Even if this was an amazing city down here, which it actually kind of is, you could actually make a pretty amazing city right here. But you might be thinking, oh my God, I got to save all the way up to 130 influence to make this thing. That's insane. Well, you don't. If you haven't noticed already, the cost of creating outposts has to do with the proximity to the closest city. So if, for example, we have this city right here, we can attach this particular outpost to our city right there for 30 influence. And then if you come down here, you can see that it's actually significantly cheaper. Now instead of 80, it's 30. Down here, again, it's 30. Over here, once again, it's 30. And down here, it's as cheap as 80 instead of that. Now, what you could do is if let's say this was the amazing city right here. You go ahead and make that outpost next turn for 30. You eventually turn that into your second city. Then, once this is a city, this one would actually drop even further down in price because, again, you're that much closer in proximity. So many of the games that I've played before, in addition to, like sometimes when you happen to make your first city a long ways away from your enemy or your opponent, if you will, when you go to make those cities, instead of just going outpost, 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 and then more outposts out to the edges and try to block them in that way, it actually is worth it to, for instance, put down the outpost close to their area and save up to turn it into a city so that all of the outposts around it become much cheaper from the proximity from perhaps a city that might have been down here as your capital. So it's very important to kind of spread out your cities in order to efficiently use your influence when creating outposts. Topic number 3 for today's tips and tricks, ladies and gentlemen, is timing your cities. And more specifically, what I mean by that is timing when to build your specific number of cities in your empire. So there is an extremely, extremely effective mechanic in this game revolved around the concept of what they call colonies. And more specifically, they have the colony model and the colony plan and then the colony blueprint out here at Steam Engine. And then I believe there's one more further down here called the colony grid, way down here towards the end of the game. And how these work is you get essentially all of the infrastructure in addition to some bonus population and production from any previous era. So what I tend to do is in my games, I tend to do probably like 3 city setup at the beginning of the game in the first couple eras, kind of in the ancient and then into the classical era. I'll tend to probably get 3 cities up and running as quick as I can. But what you really want to do is push to feudalism before you get a 4th city. Even if you think it's going to be another 15 turns to get to feudalism and you want to get that city going now, I want to assure you that it is worth it. Because you need to just think about something like this. Think about how long it would take you to build the library and the theater and the artisan workshop and the charcoal kiln and the aqueduct and the water mill and the artificial reservoirs and all of these guys back here, all the way back to stuff like the granary and the animal barns and the lumberyard and everything else. Because you get all of those for free once you get to feudalism and have the technology for colony model. So as soon as you get feudalism, you go to that outpost that you want to turn into a city, you turn it into a city, and blam, you have everything from the previous era. It is so much value, and it really gives a lot of pace to the game as you move through the technology tree. The next one, like we talked about, I mentioned it 3-mast ship, which is the colony plan, and in addition to the 3 pop, you get 210 production and the first 3 eras worth of infrastructure, which includes things like the alchemist workshop and the high furnace. You get it all for free the moment you throw that down. So I generally will do, probably when I hit feudalism, if I have the land, I might get my 4th and 5th city. Sometimes you might be a little bit squeezed. You may only get 4, and then you need to kind of work for some space to get a 5th. So at that point, maybe you get that at 3-mast ship. And you get your 5th city down, or potentially even your 6th or 5th and 6th. Generally, I'll have 5 or 6 cities once I get to this. And then you can actually sprint. If you got your science up, you can actually sprint quite quickly, as you can see I did here, to Steam Engine to get the colony blueprint. Not 3, but 4 population, 280 base production, and all the infrastructure from the first 4 eras. That includes a lot of science guys, like the printing house, the university, the inventor's workshop, the cabinet of curiosities. All of these guys that really bump your science. You get those for free right out of the gate. They give them to you the moment you click on Build City once you have the Steam Engine technology. And I want to show you really quickly just how powerful this is. Here we are in a game I'm actually currently playing on my Twitch channel. We've been playing this the last couple of days. And we're getting towards the end. I got 6 cities already. And in here, I'm going to build a 7th and 8th city. Basically 3 of these and then 3 of these. So let's just go ahead. It doesn't even matter. Let's go ahead and pick this one right here. Let's go in here and grab this guy and turn him into a city. Now you can see here, it's just this, and these numbers are poultry because it's just an outpost. Now I want to see what happens when I click on this. Boom. 262 production and 81 science, along with 39 gold and 11 food. And we haven't done a thing. Look at this. All of these completed. The completed tab. 40 of them. All done. They're all yours. Okay? And then I want you to take a look at this. We can just go ahead and attach this guy. And, oh, we don't. Of course we don't. I could have attached that guy. But you can see the numbers just got 378, 130, 41 food. If we attach this, you could imagine that this number might be 60 or 80 food. Extra, you know, the production would be close to 500, maybe 200 or more science. We could even organize this according to our normal thing. As much as 178 science already before we even attach this. And then you just start building your districts. You just start throwing them down. And they're so cheap because you just got started. You can typically build a whole bunch of districts in the first... like, you could typically build 3 or 4 districts a turn with all this production because you haven't built any districts in this city at all. So powerful. Make sure you time your cities with these very, very important technologies. All right, folks, let's talk about luxury resources and what they can do for you. Quick disclaimer. These things are potent. They are so incredibly powerful in your game. You will not believe it. Make sure you pay attention and use them as I advise. Also keep in mind that because they are so strong, there is a chance that they might balance the game out down the line and potentially maybe nerf the power of these luxuries going forward. So there's a chance if you're watching this a little bit later after I actually released it that they won't quite have the impact that you're seeing in the game. Who knows? Maybe they'll keep it exactly the way they are. Anyway, let's take a quick look at how they work. So right here you have in this city T. And I have 2 of them up and running. It says currently 2 online. And then, of course, for the wondrous effect, which we'll talk about later, I would need to have at least 2 out of 4, so I would already qualify. And what you can see here is before you get the wondrous effect, just on all cities, just for the regular effect, it's 2% per food for a total of 4% food in all cities, plus 8 stability. And if you look over here, you can see there's 2 more. So eventually, when I get these 2 online here, I could be getting as much as 8% food in every city and 16 stability. And of course, that stability is oh so powerful early on because it allows you to build more districts. The sooner and faster you can build districts earlier in the game, the better you're going to be. So getting extra bonus stability from these luxuries can really help you push forward in that respect. And let's take a look at a couple more of these luxuries and just how good they are. Let's take a look at these dies, okay? So we have 1 of them up and running right here. And I'm already getting 5 industry and 4 stability in all cities. But if you take a look, we actually have an additional 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dies available to get online, which we will do shortly. And once we've done that, we will be able to get as much as, just from these 6 dies, 30 industry and 24 stability. So that means 24 stability means almost 2.5 districts worth of stability that you can build in your cities additionally because you have these dies up and running, not to mention 30 extra production. But you're looking at those wondrous effects and you're thinking, holy cow, that seems pretty great. You're not lying. Once you get the wondrous effect, you could have as much as 30%, not just 30 production, but 30% production boost on all your cities And that much greater stability effect, that'd be plus 60 stability from the Wondrous effect. That means you could build 6 districts for the cost, for the effect of having the Wondrous effect here. So let's talk a little bit about how you get that. So in case you didn't know, there's a technology out here in the tech tree called Patronage. It's in the early modern era, the 4th era here, right here. And if you hover over that, you can see the luxury manufactory. Once you build a luxury manufactory on top of any resource, luxury resource, you will get the Wondrous effect. Now, only one person can get the Wondrous effect in the whole game. So if the AI builds it first, you're out of luck. So you got to make sure you get there quick. One person can build the manufactory on each of the different luxury resources in the game. So you've got dyes, boom, patronage is in, build the manufactory, and you've got however many you've got total in cities. So for instance, in this, you need at least 4 out of the 8 total in order to be able to do it. But, you know, right now we have 1, we'll eventually have 6 or maybe even more. So we'll get that effect on all the cities, which is fantastic. Now, I also want to talk to you a little bit about the value of trade. Now, in this game, you can see here, we haven't really met much of anybody except for Babylon over here, who we squeezed against the coast. But if, for instance, they have a couple dies here, this would also take effect for giving us our Wondrous boost per resource online. So we can, as long as we build it in our land, then we get credit for anything we trade in as well. Additionally, let's just say, for instance, that all of these were in their land, and let's say I only got this one here online. But if I had that one and spent all the money needed to trade for all of these extras to get to at least 4 out of 8, and I got the patronage first and built the manufactory, then I would be set. I would get it and not them, even though they might be the ones who have all of them in their land. I would be the one who gets the Wondrous effect in addition to all the effects from the other ones. So unbelievably powerful, because you can imagine once you have these online, you get all the food, all the bonus production. Up here, you've got silver. You could get as many, I think there's 5 of them up in here. That's 25% science. Yeah, there's 5 of them. 25% science. So if you're making 2,000 science, now you're making 2,500 science. It's absolutely insane how powerful it is. Not to mention the stability boost. Stability can be a struggle early in the game. Once you get to patronage, you'll never see anything other than 100 stability in all your cities for the rest of the game. It's powerful. Go out and check it out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got one final topic to discuss here on today's tips video, and that is tech tree management. And I would also like to demonstrate to you how easy it is to get your science up early and how incredibly vital it is for the tempo of your game. So let's take a quick look at the tech tree and what we want to do. So early on, at the very beginning of the game, we have obviously a few choices here. And I'm going to talk specifically about a peaceful game where we're not worrying too much about war and getting into the combat and having to do a lot of technologies for better units and some of the advantages there. This is much more specifically tailored towards playing a game in a peaceful mode and trying to make your cities better and stuff like that. So early on, domestication and carpentry are quite good, especially if you have lots of forests around and stuff like that for your lumber yards, or you got some horses to get up. But I always go calendar first whenever possible, because the granary is a bunch more food on your farmers, plus another farmer slot, which means your cities are going to grow faster. More population is always good. And also, the artisan's quarter is found here. That extracts the luxury resources from their deposits. We just got finished talking about how incredibly powerful luxuries are. So you're going to want to get the calendar up early so you can get those luxuries online, get your stability going well, and also get those food and production and science boosts as quick as you can from those luxuries. Then you want to move along. Irrigation's good. Get the flood irrigation going, obviously. But I want to move towards writing. Writing is another key one you want to get going because it allows you to have access to the laws civic, which reduces the cost of influence to change and enact civics. And we talked about the power of influence and making good use and efficient use of your influence. This is another really important one to get online as quickly as you can. So you want to get there as fast as possible. And also the House of Scribes Allows you to get more science from each researcher and have more researchers available in your cities. Also very good to get your science up early because you want to accelerate to what I like to call the big three. And the big three are philosophy, rhetoric, and hydrology. Philosophy is, of course, going to give you an additional city cap. It's also going to give you the ability to make the research quarter, which is, of course, a way to accelerate your science, build lots of research quarters, and you'll be doing great. And, of course, it allows you to build the schools, which makes those research quarters better. Then you come to rhetoric. Rhetoric, also very good, allows you to build the theaters. We talked about the value of getting your influence up early. This is early in the game still. Build those theaters as quick as possible. Get that additional +4 as fast as possible, and you're going to be loving it in all your cities. And, of course, the library, science per population. At this point in the game, you should have maybe get into 8, 10, 12 pop per city. That could be another 20, 30, 40 science, depending on how much you've got there. You can see with our 14 science here just how much that would give value to you. And hydrology is so good for your cities. In addition to giving you a bunch of stability there in order to build more districts, which would mix nicely with your research quarters. So build this, and you can build extra research quarters, more science for you. But also water mill and the artificial reservoirs. We talked a lot earlier in the video about the value of having rivers in and around your cities, because you can get these technologies that make those rivers better. And here they are, extra 2 food, extra 2 production. Get those up and running in your cities as early as possible, and you are going to love your life. So those are the first big three right there, and the faster you get your science up, the better. Now, you're probably looking at this saying 23 science, 43 science. What are you talking about? It's going to take us forever. But I want to show you a little trick. And I'm sure, of course, you guys may know by now. Maybe you're new to the game and you have no idea. But you can manage your citizens up here, okay? Now, right now, I have them focused heavily on producing as much food and as much industry or production, if you will, as possible, which is good. A lot of people might suggest that, and it's fine. But particularly early in the game, a lot of your production's coming from tiles and from districts. And so if you watch here, if I move, you have 3 science slots not being used. If I move 3 guys off of here, like this, we're only going to drop to 149 science, or 149 production. This is still going to get done in 1 turn. I mean, we're talking about a very minor 168 to 149, not even 20 production loss. But look at the difference, 4 science to 23. All of a sudden we have 23 science here. Just like that. Okay, we've just basically doubled our science. Okay? Same thing in this city. Focusing on food and production. I'm going to take these guys off. We're going to drop from 86 to 73 production. Still plenty of production in that city. But look at that. We just went to 16 science instead of 4. Okay? We just quadrupled our science in that city. We'll come over here to this city really quickly. Same thing. 3 more slots. Still have plenty of production and tons of science. And now, out of nowhere, if we go into the tech tree, it's only going to take 6 turns for philosophy instead of 23. Okay? And then, obviously we get this. Maybe we build a couple more of these House of Scribes in some of our cities, but we don't have them in yet. It'll get even faster. Maybe build a couple research quarters right away. Gets even faster. Next thing you know, this is only going to take 6. This might only take 4. You get these things going fast, and then you just accelerate because you've gotten the science online. Then we're going to talk about the next big 3. These are the first big 3. Now we have the next big 3. And those are feudalism, which we've talked about in this video already. Feudalism, which gives you the colony model, and +1 food on all tiles producing food. You want to sprint to this, not just so you can get your cities up and running, cities 4 and 5 as fast as possible, like we talked about, but every single tile that's producing food is going to get more food. Boom, accelerate. It's going to be great. You're going to have so much good things going on there. The other big one, the next big one, chivalry. Now, we haven't talked about this one, but chivalry is great because you can build hamlets. And hamlets are like building a second city center in all of your territories, which can gobble up all the resources around them and allow you to start building districts off of those in order to create more opportunities for workers. Hamlet. As soon as you get the chivalry, boom, you're throwing down hamlets in all your cities. It's fantastic. And then, of course, the final of the second big 3, if you will, is patronage. You've got to get your science up and get here as fast as possible because we already talked about it. It's a game changer. The moment you get to patronage, it's ball game. Stability is never a problem again. You've got massive percentages boosts to your production, to your food, to your science, and to your gold for that matter. All of your yields just get a massive boost, and you can just build as many districts as you want because stability is not a problem. So that's the big one there at the end, or sorry, I guess the middle of the tree, but at the end of this kind of discussion around tech tree management and pushing that early science. It's oh so valuable, and you're going to accelerate your cities and everything you're capable of doing because you get these technologies online as fast as possible. All right, folks, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget to make the YouTube algorithm happy. Like this video and comment down below. Doesn't matter what you say. You can just say hello, how you doing? You can leave some information about what you'd like to see in the future when it comes to Humankind content. Whatever it is, leave that comment and hit that like button. I really do appreciate it. Also, if you haven't done so already, remember to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the upcoming Humankind content that'll be coming at you. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time, folks. Bye-bye.